Hi everybody, this is Lara at pureelliottwave.com with a more brief video for you today. I did just record my work preparing a Elliott wave count for Fantom and updating my count for Stellar, which I'm going to go through next with you. And it did not record. That was operator error. Still not feeling that well. Still probably pretty sure I have Omicron. I did mean to edit that out from last week's video, but not feeling too well. I didn't do a great job on editing. Here's hoping I do a better job this week. Elliott wave analysis for Fantom first, then classic analysis, and then we'll go over Stellar and I'll update my analysis for that. I'm going to start my Elliott wave count for Fantom at its low here, which is March 2020. From this low to this high, I can see a complete 5-wave impulse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to label it intermediate degree, but I am open to the possibility it may need to be moved down 1 degree. If that's correct, there could be a 5-wave impulse over, and we could be expecting a pullback to be deeper for primary wave 2. Probably a zigzag A, B, C. Primary 2 may not move beyond the start of 1. Here's the invalidation point, 0.001953. When we do the Elliott wave count like this from here to here, fits beautifully in this channel, which is close to an Elliott channel, but not quite. Drawn from 1 to 3. Normally place a copy on 2. I've pulled it down to sit on these lows, which then perfectly shows where 4 found support. So this trend line is really important. This previous all-time high is really important. The bottom line for Fantom is, if we see a new high above this point on an upward session, on an upward day with support from volume, then I would expect the intermediate 5 and primary 1 are continuing higher and there hasn't been a trend change. But if we see a break below support, below this line on a downward session, which closes below this line, and if we see a full daily candlestick below this line and not touching it, then I would have confidence in this Elliott wave count, and this is why. Let's go to classic analysis now. Just at the daily chart level, here's the all-time high, and here's this current upward movement. There's some weakness at the end of this upward movement. There's bearish divergence between price and RSI and price and stochastics. There's a bearish candlestick pattern at the high as well. It doesn't have support from volume. It doesn't need to have support from volume for confidence in it. We do need support from volume for bullish candlesticks, but not bearish candlesticks. That's because price can fall of its own weight, which is a shorthand way of saying price can fall due to a lack of activity from buyers just as fast and far as it can due to activity from sellers. So there's some good resistance about 3.4, support about 2.1. For the bullish case, if you want to be bullish on Fantom, because of this weakness here in the bearish candlestick, I would say it would be best to wait to see a break above resistance on an upward session which closes above resistance, which has support from volume. We haven't seen that yet. On balance, volume has a weak range, no signal here. ADX is flat, no clear trend. We've been over RSI and stochastics. ATR is increasing as price rises, and there is support from volume in this upward movement. So the only weakness is at the end. So the bottom line for Fantom is I'm not completely clear on the next direction. I want to use this trend line and this previous all-time high. If we get a break above resistance, it's bullish. If we get a break below the support line, bearish. Let's jump over to Stellar now. I've updated my wave count for Stellar, and I have 2 ideas. Primary 2 could be over down here, and then we could have an intermediate 1 and 2, but I think actually for Stellar my conclusion is more likely that primary 2 is going to continue lower as a double zigzag. The normal depth for primary degree corrections for cryptocurrencies is from 80 to 90% the wave that they're correcting. So 80% of primary wave 1 would be 0.18208, 90% would be 0.10529. Primary 2 may not move beyond the start of 1, below 0.28492. Let's take a look at why. That was my conclusion. Let's go over to classic analysis for Stellar, and let's start with the weekly chart level. There's some bearish divergence between price and RSI at this high, so it's unsurprising we're getting downward movement. Is this enough, or is it going to keep going lower? For the short term, Stellar is consolidating with resistance about 0.46, support about 0.2, and within there a little bit of resistance about 0.35. It's been moving sideways. ADX is declining, the DX lines are whipsawing, and ATR is declining. Totally normal behaviour when a market is consolidating. So the direction for Stellar is not crystal clear. Volume is light as price is moving sideways. At the weekly chart level, this candlestick here is a bullish engulfing candlestick pattern, and it does have support from volume. This would tend to suggest we may have a sustainable low in place here. But the bullishness of this could have been resolved by this upward movement. Here's a bearish candlestick pattern, a gravestone doji. We're getting downward movement here within the larger consolidation. On balance, volume is at support. This could assist a halt and fall in price. If we get a break below this, it'll be a weak bearish signal. RSI is in neutral territory after reaching overbought and exhibiting divergence. There's still room for it to continue lower, for price to continue lower, before RSI reaches oversold. Stochastics is oversold. In a trendless market, I'd expect more downward movement overall to support about 0.2. Let's take a look at this downward swing at the daily chart level. Here it is. Dark cloud cover at this high, indicating a trend change. Couple of hammer candlestick patterns here didn't lead to much. This is an indicator, or a good example of having to take it all into context. Candlestick reversal patterns make no comment on two things. They make no comment on the next direction and how long the next trend is going to last. There are three directions, up, down or sideways. So a bullish candlestick pattern doesn't tell us if we're just going to see sideways movement or a full 180-degree trend change, and it makes no comment on, if we do see a trend change, how long the next trend may last. You have to put it into context with everything else. We've got some downward movement here. We've got some bullish divergence between price and RSI. But this didn't come after RSI was oversold, so it's not a particularly strong bullish signal. We do have a bearish signal here from on-balance volume breaking below support. This support line is close to horizontal. It's got at least 4 tests, and the break is really clear, so I give a little bit more weight to this than I do to this weak bullish divergence. For the short term, price is falling with declining volume. Again, price could be falling of its own weight. Here at this low, we have a bullish engulfing candlestick pattern. Very importantly, it lacked support from volume. In order for confidence and to see strength off lows, we need to see strength in volume for bullish candlestick patterns. We don't have it. ADX indicates there's a downward trend. There's still room to go before RSI would reach oversold, and stochastics also is neutral. ATR is declining as price moves sideways. I would expect price to fall to at least 0.2, this strong support level on the weekly chart, and possibly below that. It looks like there may not be a sustainable low from Stellar, and this low here, not having support from volume and coming with a bearish signal from on-balance volume, leads me to suspect that we may be more likely than less likely to see more downward movement from Stellar. And that's my conclusion for those two. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for your support, and I should be all fine and back to doing a little bit more for you next week. Thank you for your patience.